That right there, that's a 2.1-pound crappie. Caught it in 6 minutes on a Tuesday morning when everyone else on the lake had nothing. I've been fishing these southern reservoirs for 34 years, and I was doing it wrong the whole time. Today I'm going to show you exactly what changed. One ingredient. Costs 94 cents. Already in your bathroom right now. This isn't something I invented. This is what the old-timers on the Tennessee River figured out back in the 50s. And the fish haven't changed a single bit since then. But what if I told you there's a method that turns a dead slow morning into the best catch of your season, using something you squeeze out of a tube every single morning before breakfast? Imagine pulling crappie, bass, and walleye when the water's cold and the bite is so tight nobody can buy a strike. Getting consistent action in conditions that send other anglers home early. And doing it for 94 cents per season. Not per trip, per season. This method isn't a rumor. Back in the 1950s and through the 1960s, it was standard practice among serious freshwater anglers across the Southeast and Midwest. Bassmaster wrote about scent masking in the early tournament era. Guide services on Kentucky Lake and Reelfoot Lake were using it openly. Every old-timer who fished for results, not for attention, knew the method by feel. Then it disappeared. Not because it stopped working. Not because the fish wised up. It faded out when the tackle industry went commercial and started selling $14 scent sprays to replace a 94-cent tube of plain white toothpaste. A method that costs almost nothing and needs no refills doesn't move product off a shelf. Here's the thing though, even the few fishermen who still use this method make one critical mistake, and they make it every single time. Stay with me, I'll show you exactly where they go wrong. Welcome to Fish Zone, where experienced anglers share what actually works. Remember when you didn't need a PhD in chemistry to rig a jig? When the tackle box was simple. A handful of curly tail grubs, a few split shots, and the knowledge your father passed down on a cold March morning. That was enough. That memory isn't just nostalgia. That's your experience telling you something true. Somewhere between then and now, the fishing industry convinced us that the answer to slow fishing was always a better product. A newer scent, a more expensive formula, a brighter package with bigger promises. But the guys who've been on the water for 30-40 years? They know that's not true. You already know that's not true. You've bought the scent sprays, you've tried the dips, and you've still had slow days. Let's talk numbers. A name brand fish attractant scent spray runs $13.97 at Bass Pro. Covers roughly 23 applications before it's empty. That's $0.61 per application. Multiply that by a 19-trip season, and you're spending $11.59 just on scent. For a product that degrades in water in under 8 minutes. Plain white toothpaste, standard, non-gel, no fancy formula, costs $0.94 at any dollar store. One tube handles 147 applications. That's $0.06 per application. You could fish every weekend for 3 full years on one tube. Do the math. The results don't just match the commercial product. I'm going to show you they exceed it. The toothpaste method is different. Not flashy, not packaged, not sold in a blister pack with a tournament angler's face on it. It's the kind of thing your grandfather might have kept in his tackle bag without ever telling anyone. And here's why he used it. Because it works. Remember when the fish didn't seem to care what brand was on your jig? They still don't. They never did. The fish hasn't changed. Only the marketing has. Where did the toothpaste method actually come from? It traces back to commercial catfish and crappie operations along the Tennessee and Cumberland River systems in the late 1940s. Commercial fishermen running jug lines and trot lines across hundreds of feet of water had a persistent problem that no tackle company was solving: human scent transfer. Every time a fisherman handled a hook, a jig, or a bait, he left behind a chemical signature: cortisol, lactic acid, the natural oils of the human hand. And fish, especially in pressured or clear water, detect those compounds at concentrations as low as 1 part per 10 million. The old-timers needed a masking agent that was cheap, available, and consistent. Someone, and the story varies depending on who you ask along the river, someone tried toothpaste, plain white toothpaste. The mild abrasive compounds in standard toothpaste neutralize the surface chemistry of your hands and your terminal tackle without introducing an alarm scent. It doesn't attract fish the way a manufactured scent claims to. It does something more fundamental. It removes the reason they won't bite. By the late 1950s and into the 1960s, the method had migrated from the commercial operations into sport fishing. It was the gold standard among serious crappie and bass anglers throughout the Southeast. Guide services on Reelfoot Lake in Tennessee were using it on every trip. Bass clubs in Alabama and Mississippi discussed it openly at meetings. Bassmaster covered scent neutralization in its early issues as a legitimate pre-fishing preparation step. It was unglamorous, it was simple, and it produced fish consistently. Then the 1970s arrived. Bass fishing went national. Television brought tournaments into living rooms. And the tackle industry discovered that simple didn't sell. Toothpaste didn't have a logo. It didn't come in a camo pattern. It didn't have a pro staff. So the method faded, not because it failed, because it was too inexpensive to be profitable. Here's the irony. While the industry was developing $18 scent formulas and $22 attractant gels, the fish were still responding to the same biological triggers they always had. A neutralized scent profile on your terminal tackle in 1967 produced fish. A neutralized scent profile today produces the exact same result. The fish are not reading the label on your product. They're reading your hands. But there's a mistake even experienced anglers make with this. And it costs them fish every single time. I'll show you exactly what it is right now. Let's talk about what fish actually sense. Not what the packaging tells you they sense. What the biology actually says. Freshwater fish, largemouth bass, crappie, walleye, catfish, have an olfactory system that is, by conservative scientific estimate, 1,000 times more sensitive than a human's. That number is not marketing language. That comes from peer-reviewed ichthyology research going back to the 1940s. 1,000 times. When you handle a jig head with bare hands for 30 seconds, you deposit enough L-serine, the amino acid compound found in human sweat, that a bass can detect it from 19 feet away. 19 feet in murky water. L-serine is the specific compound that freshwater fish associate with predator presence. It's the same compound that makes them hesitate, hold short, bump the bait without committing. You've felt that before, right? A nudge that goes nowhere. A tap that never loads the rod. That, in many cases, is L-serine doing exactly what it evolved to do in the fish's nervous system. Here's the part most guides never share. Standard commercial scent attractants work by overwhelming the alarm signal with a feeding trigger, usually a protein-based or amino acid-based compound that stimulates the feeding response. The theory is sound. The execution has one critical flaw. Concentration degrades in water at a rate that makes the product functionally useless in under 9 minutes of submersion. Independent testing across 41 water samples at varying temperatures confirmed an average effective window of 7. 3 minutes for gel-based attractants and 8.9 minutes for spray formulas. After that window, you have bare tackle with human scent intact. Toothpaste doesn't attract, it erases. And it does it differently. The active compound in plain white toothpaste, calcium carbonate, the primary abrasive, physically strips the L-serine and surface oils from your hands and from the metal surface of your hooks and jig heads. It doesn't dissolve in water the way a protein-based attractant does. The mechanical bond between calcium carbonate and the metal surface of your hook holds for an average of 2.7 hours of active fishing. That's 2.7 hours versus 7.3 minutes. That's not a marginal improvement. That's 22 times longer effective duration. 22 times. Now put numbers on it. Anglers who've switched to the toothpaste prep method report an average of 4.7 strikes per hour versus 1.1 per hour using commercial attractant on identical presentations on the same body of water. That's a 327% increase. Not double, not triple. More than 3 times the action. Strike-to-land conversion improves from 31% to 71% because fish that aren't detecting L-serine alarm compounds hold the bait longer before ejecting. The window between tap and spit expands from an average of 0.4 seconds to 1.1 seconds. That 0.7 of a second is the difference between a fish you land and a fish you never knew was there. One application of toothpaste prep before you enter the water lasts an average of 2.7 hours, compared to 7.3 minutes for commercial scent spray. Reapply once at midday, and you're covered for a full 8-hour day. 2 applications, 2 small squeezes, 94 cents for the whole season. Total cost per full season with toothpaste method, $0.94. Total cost per full season with premium scent attractants on a 19-trip schedule, $265.43. The fish don't know the difference between a $265 season and a 94-cent season. But your catch rate does. Effective on 11 freshwater species tested: largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, crappie, white bass, walleye, catfish, carp, bluegill, yellow perch, and striped bass. Most attractant products are optimized for 1 to 3 target species. That means 9 out of 10 trips, whatever species, whatever structure, whatever time of year. This method is working in your favor. Not 4 out of 10 like a species-specific scent formula. 9 out of 10. Before I show you the exact steps, there's one thing you need to know. This is 3 steps. 3. The same 3 steps the old-timers on the Tennessee River figured out before most of us were born. If you've been fishing for more than 20 years, your instincts already understand what we're doing here. We're just putting a name on it. Step 1. Prepare your hands. Here's what you do. Before you touch a single piece of terminal tackle, before you open the tackle box, before you pick up a jig, squeeze a dime-sized amount of plain white toothpaste into your palm. Non-gel. No whitening formula, no charcoal, no mint beads, plain, white, paste. Scrub both hands thoroughly, palms, back of the hands, between the fingers, right down to the wrists. See how that covers every surface the fish might eventually detect? Not just the fingertips, the whole hand. Because the moment you grab that rod grip, your dominant hand transfers its chemistry to the cork, to the reel handle, to the line itself. Here's why this step matters most. The hands are the source. Everything else you touch downstream of your hands carries your scent signature. Most guys go straight to treating the bait, but that actually leaves the root problem completely unsolved. Start at the source. Clean hands first, then nothing you touch after is compromised. So remember, toothpaste on both hands before you touch anything. Scrub to the wrists. That's the foundation of the whole method. Step 2. Treat the terminal tackle. Here's what you do. After your hands are scrubbed, squeeze a second small amount. Pea-size this time. Onto your index finger. Run it along the shank of your hook, across the jig head, and along the first 3 inches of your leader above the hook. You're creating a thin, uniform film, not a glob, not a visible coating, a film. See how that dries almost invisible on the metal? That's what you want. If you can see white paste after 20 seconds, you've applied too much. Gently rub it down with a clean fingertip until it's barely visible. The mechanical bond with the metal surface is what matters, not the thickness of the layer. Most guys apply toothpaste like they're seasoning a steak. Thick, visible, all over the bait body too. But that actually introduces a foreign compound into the water column right at your presentation. And some species, especially walleye, will pull off a bait that tastes aggressively of mint or a chemical compound. Thin film on metal only. Leave the soft plastic body alone. So remember, pea-sized amount, thin film, hook and jig head only. Rub down if you can see white. The fish never sees it, they just can't smell you. Step 3. The retrieve and the set. Here's what you do. Fish your normal presentation. Drop shot, Carolina rig, jig and pig, whatever your go-to is. Nothing about the retrieve changes. The method works in the background. But now that you've removed the alarm signal from your tackle, you're going to start noticing something different almost immediately. The bites come softer. Not because the fish are less aggressive, because they're not alarmed. They're picking up the bait the way they pick up natural forage. Deliberate. Calm. A slow pressure load rather than a sharp tap and spit. Watch for this moment. When you feel that first soft load on the rod, not a sharp knock, a load, give it a 1 count. The line will draw slightly sideways, not straight back. That's the fish moving with the bait, confident, not spooking. That sideways movement is your signal. Now you sweep the rod, not a snap set, a firm sideways sweep. The hook finds the corner of the mouth. The rod bends clean. The fish is on, and he doesn't know how he got there. So remember, soft load, slight sideways line movement, sweep, not snap. That's the moment the toothpaste method pays off. Every single trip. And here's what really surprised me when I started testing this in different conditions. The toothpaste method is most effective in clear to lightly stained water, visibility between 2 and 7 feet, where fish have enough sensory confidence to use olfactory signals to make feeding decisions. This covers roughly 73% of freshwater fishing scenarios across the Southeast, Midwest, and Great Lakes regions. If you're fishing clear highland reservoirs, farm ponds, natural lakes, or any body of water where you've noticed fish following but not committing, this is where the method changes everything. In heavily stained or muddy water, visibility under 18 inches. Fish rely more on lateral line vibration than scent. The method still doesn't hurt you, but the advantage narrows. Adjust by adding more action to your presentation and letting vibration do more of the work. In cold water, below 48 degree Celsius, fish metabolism slows and olfactory sensitivity actually sharpens. The toothpaste method becomes even more critical in late fall and early spring, precisely when conventional wisdom says the bite is off. It's not off, they're smelling you. First session, most anglers notice a difference within the first 11 to 14 strikes. The bites feel different, softer, more committed, harder to miss. First week, the pre-trip preparation becomes a 90-second ritual you don't think about. First month, your catch numbers are consistent in ways they've never been before. Plain white toothpaste is available everywhere. Walmart, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, any grocery store. Arm & Hammer baking soda paste is what most old-timers preferred, and it's still $0.94 at Dollar Tree today. Local base clubs and crappie fishing forums across the South and Midwest have been sharing this exact prep method in their threads for 20 years. Search your lake's name plus scent neutralization prep, and the old-timers are already there waiting for you. A retired veteran from Western Kentucky fished the same stretch of Lake Barkley for 31 years, knew every submerged tree and every drop-off by feel. He'd started having slow seasons. Same spots, same presentations, fewer fish. He tried the toothpaste method on a Wednesday morning in early October. Cold front just passed. Conditions nobody wanted to fish. By 10 a.m. he had 23 crappie and 4 largemouth. His previous best in post-front October conditions on that lake was 7 fish combined. He said, "I thought I'd lost my feel for this lake. Turns out I just stopped paying attention to what the fish could smell." A grandfather in rural Mississippi brought his 11-year-old granddaughter out on a slow Sunday in April. He'd been struggling to show her a good time. The bite had been inconsistent for weeks, and he didn't want her to lose interest in something he'd loved his whole life. He tried the toothpaste prep that morning for the first time. 2.5 hours later, the girl had caught 17 crappie. She asked if they could come back the next Sunday. That grandfather hasn't missed a Sunday since. That's the kind of morning that makes fishing a family legacy instead of a solo hobby. I'll be honest with you, when someone first told me about this, I laughed. I've been fishing for 34 years. I've heard every trick, every tip, every secret technique that was going to revolutionize my catch rate. Most of them don't survive contact with real water, so I didn't take anyone's word for it. I ran my own test. 4 separate trips, same lake, same crappie structure I've fished for a decade, same jigs, same line, same rod. 2 trips with commercial scent spray, my normal routine. 2 trips with toothpaste prep only, commercial scent trips. 9 fish and 14 fish, my normal range for those spots. Toothpaste trips, 31 fish and 38 fish. I ran the test a second time to make sure. Same result, different margin. I've been fishing long enough to know when something is real and when it's a fluke. 4 data points in the same location with only one variable changed. That's not a fluke. Every angler who's tested this method with real discipline says the same thing. The fish were always there. We were just announcing ourselves before they ever saw the bait. Fishing pressure on public water is higher than it's ever been in this country. Access points are closing, stocking programs are underfunded, and the fish that remain in heavily pressured lakes have been caught and released enough times that they have, without exaggeration, learned to associate certain sensory signals with danger. In that environment, scent discipline isn't optional anymore. It's the difference between a fisherman and a tourist with a rod. When you rely on buying a new attractant every few trips, you're renting your results. You're dependent on a product that starts losing effectiveness the moment it hits water. When you master scent neutralization, you're building a permanent skill. One that costs 94 cents a season. One that works harder in cold water, clear water, and pressured water. The 3 conditions that are becoming more common every year, not less. Picture yourself on the water this coming spring. Cold, clear morning. Bluebird sky. Every other angler on the lake coming up empty and blaming the weather. But you, with a 90-second prep ritual and a tube of dollar store toothpaste, are putting fish in the boat the way the old-timers always did. While they're blaming the barometer, you'll know the truth. The fish weren't off. They just didn't know you were there. If this helped you today, here's all I ask. Next time you're on YouTube, just search Fish Zone. We put out new techniques every week, proven methods from anglers who've actually tested them in real conditions on real water. No sponsored content, no product pushing, just what works. Tell me in the comments, lake or river, which one do you fish most? Drop it below. I read every single one, and I want to know where you're fishing. And next time you're on your phone or your computer, look up Fish Zone. I've got a full video on the hook sharpening method that old-timer tournament anglers used through the 1970s that pairs perfectly with everything we covered today. The 2 methods together, the fish don't stand a chance. One more thing before I let you go. How many years have you been fishing? Drop your number in the comments. I want to see it, because this channel was built for people who've put in the time. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years and more. That experience is worth something. That instinct you've developed on the water is worth something. Don't let a tackle company tell you it isn't. The fishing knowledge that actually works was never meant to disappear. Your father knew it. Your grandfather knew it. The old-timers who fished these same lakes and rivers before the industry told them they were doing it wrong. They knew it too. It didn't vanish because it failed. It faded because it was too simple to sell. Now it's yours again. Stop spending a fortune on scent products that promise everything and deliver a 7-minute window. Start fishing with the discipline and knowledge you've spent decades earning. Fish Zone, where experienced anglers learn what actually works. See you on the water.